How's everybody doing? Today I will be reviewing the latest installment in the Howling series, The Howling Reborn. This will be the 8th film in the Howling series, and it's going to be released direct to DVD by Anchor Bay on October 18th. I'm going to put a link to the trailer down below, so check out the trailer. If you've seen The Howling Reborn, definitely let me know what you think of it, and let me know what your favorite werewolf movie is as well. Leave me a comment down below. The Howling Reborn is based on the book The Howling 2 by Gary Brandener. The movie starts out with the lead character, Will, looking into the camera shedding a single tear, and then there's a flashback to his mother while she's pregnant with him being attacked, and the attacker slashes her belly and rips open her stomach, and then you see Will being born right there, and her body is never found. And then you flash forward 18 years into the future for Will's 18th birthday and a couple days before his high school graduation. And Will kind of looks like Harry Potter with his glasses on, but without them he looks like Jared Leto a little bit. Will's a social outcast dork in high school, and then there's the stereotypical storyline of the dork fawns over the hot chick, and then the dork gets the hot chick. Will is fond over Ivana throughout the 4 years of high school, and he watches her and draws her in his notebook. But Iliana's boyfriend is the stereotypical bully who picks on Will. In the beginning of the movie, he pushes Will up against the locker, and he's threatening him, and he cuts Will's neck with his ring, which I thought was really odd. You never see a bully do that in movies, cut somebody's neck with their ring. But he leaves a large cut across Will's neck that bleeds. And he has this cut for a couple days actually. But luckily Iliana is there to save the day. She steps in and says just leave him alone. So Iliana's boyfriend stops roughing up Will and he walks away. And then Iliana sees Will's notebook and sees all the drawings that he's done of her. And she seems flattered and she invites Will to a party later that night. Then you're introduced to Will's father, who's very depressed and he hasn't gotten over the loss of Will's mother 18 years ago. This all happens on Will's 18th birthday, and Will decides he's going to go to the party. So he goes to the party and someone slips him a drug, I believe it's ecstasy, and he sees Iliana, he dances with her, and he thinks he sees a werewolf at the party, so he runs out of the party and he's all freaked out. And then the next day he goes to school and he starts to notice some changes within himself, and from there things get really crazy. And this happens to be graduation night, and it also happens to be a full blue moon. And of course everything comes to a dramatic head. Oh yeah, apparently the high school turns into a high-tech bank vault after school lets out. It closes down like Fort Knox with metal sheets coming down over the windows and doors, essentially trapping anyone who is still inside. And what was up with the bully's lisp? It was really hard to take him seriously when he was trying to be tough with that lisp. I know he had an accent, like a Western European accent, and that actually seemed out of place because he was the only character in the whole film that had any kind of accent, let alone a Western European accent. And obviously I don't think there's any kind of geopolitical message here. It is the Howling. I don't think there's any deeper hidden message there. But it did seem a little out of place that the only character that had an accent and a lisp happened to be the bully, and he's trying to be tough, and it didn't really work. You probably shouldn't cast an actor that has a lisp to be the bully. Oh, and seriously, who doesn't hear several gunshots on a school full of people? Is it a soundproof staircase? The Howling Reborn takes several jabs at other movies, such as The Wolfman, where one of the lines is, "That's what studios get for casting geezers in their lead role. Nobody wants to see a 40-year-old werewolf." I assume that was a jab at The Wolfman with Benicio del Toro and Anthony Hopkins. I haven't seen it myself yet, but I plan to. But that's one of the recent werewolf movies where it has an older lead, and it did flop in the box office and was panned by critics. And then there's the obvious jab at Twilight, where one of the lines is, "These aren't your makeup-wearing pansy-ass vampires." In which case the old adage comes to mind, don't throw stones if you live in a glass house. The Howling Reborn certainly has its fair share of Twilight aspects. The self-loathing male lead, the girl who wants to be with the boy and she's willing to become a werewolf to do so, the emotional turmoil, the absurd dialogue, a couple random shots of shirtless guys, all very Twilight-esque. There is some intermittent narration throughout the movie that provides some poignant social commentary for high school life and life in general. I was really impressed with the intermittent dialogue of the narration. A lot of the characters are stereotypical cardboard cutout characters. You have the male lead who's a dorky self-loathing character. You've got the hot girlfriend, female lead crush. You've got the bully. You've got the best friend who's a dorky horror movie fanatic. And then you have the stereotypical bad guys as well. The acting starts out a little bit rough at first, but it definitely settles down and you get more involved in the film. The acting is what you would expect from a low-budget horror movie like this. But there are moments where the acting is pretty decent. And while these are young actors, they are somewhat seasoned. The dialogue is a bit forced at times, especially during the existentialism diatribes. Nobody in high school talks like that. There are the fair share of typically cliche moments and the why did they do that moments, a couple of continuity errors, and plenty of helpful coincidences. The best friend in the film, named Sachin, is the acting standout, and he provides the best dialogue of the film as well. And the female lead and crush is definitely very hot. There are some moments in the film where it really sucks you in, and the soundtrack really complements those moments especially. The effects were pretty decent, but the two scenes where they needed the effects the most, they didn't use them. During a lot of the werewolf action, it's quick cuts, shaky cam, dark lighting, but the practical creature effects when fully visible were pretty badass. I also didn't care for the werewolves having long rat tails. It felt like someone was going to step on them, the werewolf was going to jump up and hit the roof and howl. The thing that pissed me off the most about this movie is they totally copped out on the one scene you wanted to see the most. And sure, they show it during the credits for a hot second, but you still feel gypped. Sometimes less is more. However, this movie hinges on seeing the werewolves and the transformations, and in that aspect, this film is a bit of a letdown. There's two scenes in particular where they really cop down on, and it really lets the film down big time. Even though there is an epic werewolf fight scene, it is short-lived and it doesn't make up for the rest of the downfalls of the movie. And the final showdown is a bit anticlimactic as well. And I get that there's the whole high school romance drama aspect, but the whole lovey-dovey bit at the end really kind of kills it for me. And make sure to watch through the credits to see some extra scenes. One scene in particular I wish they would have put into the movie. But in a way, putting it during the credits actually adds to the movie. If you see it, you'll see what I'm talking about. And of course they left it open for another in this series, not that the Howling series follows a linear plot line. The Howling Reborn definitely has its fair share of fun moments where you really get caught up in the moment. And I always love a movie that is self-aware and pokes fun at itself, which this movie does. At the end of the credits, there's a part where it says, "No werewolves were harmed during the making of this film," which I really enjoyed seeing that. I think if you like glamorized, flashy horror movies like Scream, I Know What You Did Last Summer, Urban Legend, and the newer movie The Ward, then I think you'll enjoy The Howling Reborn. I certainly would not recommend this for people that are not fans of the werewolf genre. Although it does feel like it's trying to play up on the Twilight angle with the whole high school romantic drama aspect, especially with some of the contrived emotional turmoil dialogue. It's not perfect, but it definitely has its moments. And beneath the furry exterior with poop caught in the fur that needs to be cut out, there's the potential for a really good movie underneath, waiting to get out. The scenes throughout the movie are hit or miss, and it's really up to the viewer to decide which side they lean towards. For me, there was just enough scenes that I liked more than the amount that I didn't. Cut out some of the emotional dialogue and show the effects in those two scenes and I would love this movie. As it is, I liked it, but I felt it could have been so much better. I do feel though that this could be one of those movies that gets better after repeat viewings. It feels like the TV show My So-Called Life meets werewolves. Overall, it's certainly better than most of the Howling sequels. In fact, it just might be better than all the Howling sequels, but that really isn't saying that much. If you're into werewolf movies, and if you're into low-budget horror movies, I'd say give it a watch, check it out. It's worth a rental at least. I would give it 6.5 stars out of 10. I hope everybody's doing well. Take care.